Hi, I'm Piazza, and this is week 2 of our Birth Wisdom Yoga Prenatal series, and this is Lily. We will be starting today with Birth Wisdom 2, which is the Simplicity of Childbirth from my book. And what we know from working as birth professionals is that when women have an environment that is kind of like a cocoon where the lights are dim, it really reflects intimate space, and there's not a lot of talking, everyone in the room is there to support her. Women generally have more positive birth experiences. So we'll explore that a little bit more as we practice together today. We also are going to look at some of the Birth Wisdom Yoga Remedies from the classes I've taught for years with hundreds of women, and that are also in my book as well. And I wanted to show you just a little bit about why some of you might be experiencing SPD, which is that pubic bone pain that can feel really, really sharp and intense, maybe when you're getting dressed or moving to go up and down stairs. So you have a joint right in the middle of your pelvis, and because your body is so amazing, this joint is the symphysis pubis joint, and it's actually cartilage, and it actually is there to help your pelvis open and create space for your baby. But that is also why women will have kind of that pregnancy waddle and kind of move back and forth by 8 or 9 months pregnant, and women will have pain in that joint, in that area. So we're going to do some poses today to help relieve SPD. And we're also going to look at some poses that are remedies for sciatica. So in our class, we're going to go ahead and get started laying down on your left or right side for meditation. You can use some blankets as we practice, or even pillows. Whatever you have will be fine. And maybe a block or two. And we're coming all the way down onto your left or right side. You can decide what feels good. And taking a blanket in between the knees, and even maybe one between your ankles if your sciatica is feeling a little tender at all. And coming all the way down and closing your eyes, just cradling your head and your elbow. And let's just begin to slow down the breath, allowing your inhale to lengthen all the way up through the crown of your head. And your exhale to come all the way down around your baby and out your toes. So you're coming into a slow, gentle rhythm with your breath. And just notice here if you can soften your jaw. And just allow the edges of your body to begin to soften as the breath takes you deeper and deeper into your body. And as you notice the mind and the thoughts, just go ahead and say thank you and release those thoughts right back out to the universe, returning again and again to your breathing. Begin to picture a beautiful bright light surrounding your entire body. And It's your energy field, and it's a golden, beautiful light surrounding you in love and protection, attracting abundance and health. And see that beautiful light surrounding your baby right here. And just soak up this sacred space and this sacred moment for you and your baby. Taking a deep inhale and open up, sigh out your exhale. Let's do 3 more cleansing breaths, long and slow. Inhaling deep and opening up, letting everything go on your exhale here. And just gently opening your eyes. Taking your time, we're going to come to hands and knees and place a blanket right in the center of your mat. And that's just because it'll feel good as we practice. You'll find after you take these prenatal yoga classes, when you do finally go back to a regular yoga class, you'll be using all kinds of props because you realize how much better it feels. So that's okay. Let's go ahead and come into child's pose. So knees are nice and wide. And you're going to go ahead and walk the hands forward. Allow your forehead to come all the way down to your mat. And if you feel like you need more space for your baby, go ahead and take a block, or even a pillow would work here if you don't have a yoga block. And this just creates a little more space. But you do want to bring your forehead down, as we have a wonderful acupressure point right on the forehead that helps slow down the breath, and the nervous system relaxes when we're here. So just come into the breath. We're still allowing that exhale to come all the way out. And just notice if you're holding on, and let the breath go even more. And just remember, if you feel like you need a break at any time when we're practicing, you can come here to child's pose. Or you can even come on to your left or right side and just take a few breaths until you're ready to begin again. You're going to go ahead and remove your block. We're meeting back at hands and knees. And we're going to come into a modification for Sphinx pose, which is really wonderful because it actually creates traction in the spine and really stretches the middle of the back, which can be a little tricky to get to when you're pregnant. You're going to decide how deep you take this pose. So coming all the way down onto your forearms, your fingertips are towards the edge of your mat. Go ahead and walk the knees back. Allow your forehead to come down. Now from here, you're going to press into the hands, reach back with the hips, and you can press as hard as you want into the mat and reach as far back as you want, and you'll feel that stretch in the middle of the spine. And then come into that beautiful long breath right here. And taking a deep inhale, and open up, sigh out your exhale. And then we will slowly meet back at hands and knees. We're setting up for cow pose. So your fingers are nice and wide, and we will walk the hands forward just a little bit. We won't stack the hands right under the shoulders because your wrists probably feel a little bit tight. due to all that extra fluid in your body when you're pregnant. You can also roll up your mat if you're really feeling that your wrists are sore when we practice. And just take the base of your wrist, your hand, right at the edge. It'll take you right out and give you some relief. So you decide if you want to go there. And from here, we're going to go ahead and inhale your chin and your tailbone all the way up to the sky. And then exhale, drop the head, arch the back for cat. And now just alternate as you inhale, everything lifts up. And as you exhale, come on down, drop the head. And just breathe into that space you're creating in the spine and move where it feels good. And if you haven't been practicing, maybe because you just got through that first trimester, which can be pretty challenging, then maybe you just practice 60% of what we do today. So give yourself permission to slow down and maybe not take it as deep as you would if you had been working out for the last few weeks. So from here, we're going to go ahead and come into pelvic circles. So take the knees nice and wide. We are walking the hands forward to create space and coming into a nice big figure 8. And just moving all the way forward, press into the hands, reach back with the hips, and continuing to breathe. So I often say this Birth Wisdom Yoga breathing is long and slow, and it's also the one gift I would give for you to take with you to your labor, because I know it's the one thing you can control, but also it's the one thing that is going to get you through no matter what your labor looks like. So as we practice, continue taking the breath long and slow, knowing you're really preparing for labor on your mat right here. Now we're coming into a modification for camel pose. And you can come right into hero's pose with the knees as wide as you like. If that's a little tight for your knees, go ahead and just come into an easy seated position here. The reason why we're modifying camel pose is because we want to protect your abdominal muscles from having a diastasis recti. So that is when these muscles separate and they don't mesh back together after you have your baby. And a lot of times that's because we don't modify certain poses when we're pregnant. So we're going to modify camel so you can still get the beautiful deep stretch in the spine, but we're going to protect the abs as well. So hands come behind you, fingertips face forward. So you can stay right here and breathe. If you want a little bit more, you can take your hips up to the sky, either tuck the head or drop the head all the way back. And you might be here for one breath, you might take 3 or 4, and that's going to be up to you. If you are seated right here, then you'll just go ahead and bring the hands behind you and stretch here, but you won't lift your hips up off of your mat. You can drop the head back, you can tuck the chin, and see what feels good. From there, we're going to come back to child's pose just for a couple of breaths, just because it'll feel good in your spine. So come on down and take a few breaths here. And inhaling deep. And open up, sigh it out. I'm gently coming back to center. And we are setting up for a bilateral stretch. So go ahead and press your left foot back. And you're pressing into the ball of your foot. And we're going to go ahead and take the right hand forward. So breathing here and see if you can kind of stretch through the fingertips. Feel the energy all the way down your spine and through the left heel. And breathing here. This is just a wonderful way to stretch the lower back, but it's also going to help strengthen and get rid of some of that back pain, most likely for you as well. Let's press down with the right hand You're going to slide your left foot down onto your mat and open up for a side stretch here and breathe. And then we'll gently come on down and change sides. Remember, you can come onto your fist here as well. Sometimes that feels good. Pressing through the ball of the right foot. And then stretching, taking that left hand forward. And maybe take the crown of the head forward and feel that energy all the way down the spine, all the way through your heel. And then go ahead and place your left hand down. Press your right foot into your mat and go ahead and reach up to the sky and breathe. And then we'll come all the way back to center. We're setting up for downward facing dog. So fingers are wide. Go ahead and curl your toes on your mat and take your hips all the way up to the sky. You can take the feet as wide as you like and just allow your head to come on down and come into your breath. Maybe bend your left side and your right. Maybe just gently shake the head out a bit. Still breathing. Bending your knees a lot. Go ahead and walk your hands all the way back to your feet. And bending the knees and just slowly standing up. And we're going to go ahead and come into mountain pose. Finding your heels, finding every part of your feet. Take a micro bend in your knees and just notice your pelvis. If you're tucking underneath, just go ahead and press the hips back and feel your sit bones right on top of your heels. So this is really going to help with your pelvic floor remaining nice and healthy. And we'll talk about that in some pelvic floor videos another time. But just for now, know that if you don't tuck your pelvis, you're really creating stability that's going to help you for the rest of your life. So let's inhale, reach up. And take that left wrist up and over to the right. And then inhale back to center. And take the right wrist over as well. And then slowly come all the way back down, palms face forward. Inhale, reach up, bring the palms together into your heart. Inhale, trust in your body. And draw that in. Inhale, trust in birth. And draw that in as well. And we're going to take one more breath, reaching up. We're taking a transition down to your mat. So feet are nice and wide. We're always creating space for your baby, bending the knees. We're going to come all the way down to hands and knees. Take your time. And from here, we're starting with our first chaturanga. So we are also modifying chaturanga so that we don't, we do protect the abs and we don't create a diastasis recti. So we won't be coming into up dog or low cobra. As you know, these muscles are already going to really be pushed and almost traumatized because of the pregnancy. So we don't want to push through any further. We're going to come on down. And you have options here. If you want to work your upper body, you can come into mini push-ups and go ahead and come down. Keep your elbows nice and close to your body. You also can come into cat and cow, our pelvic circles, or anything that we've done so far, even downward facing dog. So we have about 4 breaths, and I really want you to listen and move where it feels good for you. And sometimes that's just going to be child's pose or maybe seated drinking some water. So you decide. If you're tired, just allow yourself to rest. And if you want those push-ups, go ahead and find those here. And still breathing. And then we're going to come all the way back to center. And setting up for warrior one, bringing the thumbs together. So remember, this is creating space for your baby. So when you step through, as your baby grows, your knee won't hit your belly. Pressing into the left foot. And maybe you use that right thigh to come on up. And just adjusting your feet. So as your baby grows, we're going to take the feet wider and then even closer together. And that will create stability. You want to see your left toes on about a 65-degree angle coming forward. And then your right knee is just right over the right toes. And you can gently take the hands up to the sky and settle into your breath here. Notice that back leg, and if it's just sort of hanging out, press down and reach up so that leg is nice and active too. And just breathe into knowing that on that day when you have your baby, you'll have more strength in your body than you ever have in your life. So feel that in your legs, feel that in your heart, and breathe right here. And we're going to come into a modification for Humble Warrior. So I want you to just gently picture you're bringing your baby back towards your spine. It's just a gentle adjustment, creating a neutral spine here. Inhale, reach up, and we're coming forward just about 45 degrees and breathe. Pressing into that left foot. And then inhale, reach up. And take your exhale all the way down, looking behind you, or even looking up to the sky and breathe. And then inhale, reach up. And with your exhale, we are flowing down, right hand to right thigh. Left hand, left knee will come down. Take your time here. And now we're going to come into that chaturanga. Remember, you will decide. So maybe you're in child's pose the whole time. Maybe you want those push-ups. See what feels good. Maybe you just rest. 4 more breaths, and I want you to decide where you go. Deep inhales and deep exhales. And just moving where it feels good for you and taking rest when you need to take rest. And we'll meet back at center. We are setting up for Warrior One on the left side. So step the left foot forward. Press into the right foot. Maybe you're using that left thigh already. That's fine too. And we're going to go ahead and reach up to the sky, noticing your feet pressing down, reaching up through that right thigh and breathe. Feel that strength in your legs. And just notice if you're really overly arching your back, if you can just hug your baby towards your spine. This helps protect the lower back a little bit there. And then we're going to come into our modification for Humble Warrior. Inhale, reach up and take the hands forward. Press into that right heel and reach forward and breathe. Inhale, reach up. Take the right hand down, the left hand either to the sky, or you can also look behind you. And inhale, reach up with your left hand. And we are flowing all the way down to your mat. Take your time here. And we are going to do one more chaturanga. So this is your last one. So you decide what you need here. If you need the breath, come into child's pose. You want to work those arms. Find those push-ups. Whatever feels good. Wherever you go, stay with your breath. And then we'll meet back at center, coming into downward facing dog. Fingers are wide, curling your toes on your mat and take your hips up to the sky. And taking one deep inhale here. And open up, sigh out your exhale. Bend the knees a lot and walk the hands back to the feet. Taking your time to slowly stand up. And then we're going to come on over to the wall. Find a space where you can on the wall. Using your block, we're going to go ahead and lean into the wall and take the block right between your thighs. And just let your feet slide forward. We want to see your knees on top of your heels. Then go ahead and sit down. And I always say, kind of find your sweet spot. If you go too low, you might have to adjust. We're going to stay here for about the length of a contraction. So see if you can allow your eyes to shut down and come into the breath here. And as you notice the sensations in your body, just dive deeper and deeper into the breath. So you're using the breath to find your birthing power, your strength right here. And so the more we feel as those waves in labor come and go, the more we feel the intensity, the more we can dive into it. Usually the easier it'll be for us to open up and create space for our baby. And just remembering contractions are like waves in the ocean, so they go up. Thankfully, they always come back down. So right now you're just diving in and breathing until you get to the top. Using the breath to get there. And then we finally made it to the top. And we just practice saying thank you. So in labor, we just want to thank those contractions for creating space and just let them float right back out to the universe. And we come back into the breath. Go ahead and remove your block. You can place your hands on the wall and stand up if that helps. And we're going to come into some pelvic circles, and we also call this slow dancing in labor and childbirth. So you can step back, press your hands into the wall, and just first come into a wall plank, which is just a great stretch. It feels good to open up the spine. And from there, you can take the feet wider. Walking forward, take the hands a little bit higher. And we're going to rock and roll, finding some pelvic circles here. So as your pregnancy progresses, you might even find this position on the wall instead of downward facing dog if that's getting to be too much. We also like to have your birth partner facing you, and you can have your hands around their neck or their shoulders and just rock and roll in labor. So the research shows when we have our feet closer together and we just find small circles, we create a vacuum effect that helps baby move from the greater part of the pelvis all the way down into the lesser part to be born. And when we change the shape of our feet and we rock and roll asymmetrically, now we're helping baby come down and rotate to be born. So just know that you can move the feet wherever they feel good. Find your pelvic circles and then practice them and take them to labor with you. It'll really help create space. We're going to go ahead and turn around. And we want to do one more pose that is a Birth Wisdom Yoga remedy for sciatica. And you're going to have a couple of options. We're coming into eagle using the wall. So first you can keep your feet right here nice and wide if you're in your third trimester. If you feel like you have space, you can take your right foot over your left. You can even take your right knee a little higher and wrap that right foot around the left calf. But it's really going to be up to you and how it feels. It's perfectly fine to stay right here. Inhale, and then take that right hand under the left. The elbows cross, and the palms face each other. So from here, we sit down, and we take a little bit of a squeeze in that pubic bone area. So This is helping with SPD, but it's also helping with sciatica, which is fantastic also for postpartum. So come into the breath and just adjust your feet where you need to. And let's gently release and go ahead and change sides. So crossing that left foot over, if it feels good, you can wrap it all the way around if that's already in your practice. We're bringing those thighs in nice and close. Inhale, reach up. Now we're taking that left elbow under the right. They cross and touch, and the palms come in, face each other, and breathe. And remember, you can drop the toes down. You'll still get the benefit if you sit here and take a little squeeze in that pubic bone area. And allow that exhale to come all the way down. And we're going to gently release. And we'll just take one small set of pelvic circles again, just to stretch out because it'll feel good in those hips. Still breathing. And then we'll come all the way back. But you have a couple of options. So if you feel like you're done, you just need some stillness, then go ahead and bring your block or even a couple of blankets or pillows under the sacrum. And just go ahead and rest here. And feet are about as wide as your hips. And come into the breath. If you'd like a little bit more, go ahead and use both of your feet pressing into your mat. Your heels are coming towards the glutes. And you're going to press up to the sky and then come back down. So the more that you can work the glutes and create strength there, the more you're going to create balance in the pelvic floor, which will be fantastic for after you have your baby. So this is a little exercise you can do now that you can carry into the postpartum phase. And then we're going to release all the way and come into rocking happy baby. So feet are wide. We're going to rock to the right, to the left. Just taking a little bit of a massage here. Still breathing completely. And then let's gently rock over to the left side. Take your time to come on up to a seated position. And we're going to come into a hip opener. I'm going to give you two options. So the first one would be to come into Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. So the soles of your feet are together. You can place pillows or blankets right under your knees if that feels good. And then we're coming into the breath here and just softening and breathing. If pigeon is in your practice, or if you want to try it today, we're going to go ahead and use some blankets and blocks to modify. It's really important because of all of that wonderful relaxant in your body when you're pregnant that we only hold these poses for about 4 breaths, 4 to 5 breaths, to ensure that you don't end up stretching too deep and you don't realize it. So from hands and knees, go ahead and take that right knee forward. And just let it land where it feels good. And if you have any space at all under that right hip, just take a pillow or a blanket there for support. And then you have your block that you can use here as well to create space. But also, you can remove that block and come all the way down if that feels good to you. So let's allow the eyes to shut down. And practice for in-between contractions here. So you'll have the beautiful resting periods. And the more you can soften and breathe, usually the easier it'll be to open up and create space for baby in labor. And I usually say if you can do that in pigeon pose, you can do it in labor if you can soften there. And let's gently move on out. Take your time. If you're in butterfly, you can stay there or even come just into an easy seated position. And we're going to go ahead and take the left knee forward. And use your blanket. If you have any space at all, just provide some support here and your block and come on down. Softening completely, using the breath. And just noticing where there might be tension and see if you can take the breath there and soften even more. And then we're going to very gently remove your block. Come on back to hands and knees. And coming all the way down onto your left or right side for Shavasana. And remember, you can take a block between the ankles, a pillow between the knees. The more support you have here, usually the better your back will feel when you lay down, as you know probably from sleeping already. It takes lots of props. And just go ahead and allow the eyes to shut down. And come back to that beautiful breath and connection with your baby. And just continue laying in Shavasana. So many yogis will say Shavasana is the most important pose. This is where your body receives the energy and the breath. So see if you can soak that up here. Give yourself at least 5 or 6 breaths. The simplicity of childbirth. My body and my baby's body work together in perfect harmony. Everything we need for labor, childbirth, and mothering is already right here inside of me. And just taking a deep inhale. Sigh out your exhale. And taking your time, you're going to very gently come back up to hands and knees. Just come into an easy seated position here. And when you're ready, the palms will come to your heart, your eyes will shut down. I intend for you this week to continue practicing your birth breathing and opening up to the simplicity of childbirth and what that is going to look like for you and what you can create for support in your birthing room, your birthing space. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Remember, if you want more yoga flows or birth wisdoms and stories for women and mothers, you can get my book, Birth Wisdom Yoga Remedies and Journal, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and even online at many bookstores through Books A Million. And if you love this video and it was helpful, please share, like the video, and even share it on your Instagram or your Facebook. See you next time.